specific details of the accords themselves, which we have to get into. But I'm very interested in the process. And so, okay, so he was credible. He was close to Trump. People assumed that he had the power to do what he said he was going to do.
Yes. Then I think a lot of this was, face-to-face meetings and discussions. What are you concerned about? What do you guys need? What do you think is important for the relationship with the United States? I mean, it's really a lot of talking and a lot of listening and a lot of getting to know each other and trying to find out where there was common ground. Now, in the early years, in 2017 and 2018, they were saying, some of these countries were saying to Jared, look, Jared, we need to find a way to get there. It's complicated, it's difficult, but let's just stay in touch and keep working this relationship and find ways to get closer. I mean, it wasn't like Jared said, here's what I want you, here's a piece of paper, sign this, here's what I want you to do. It was much more kind of touchy-feely in the first couple of years.
Yeah. Well, that's so important, Dave. I mean, it's also the case that it's very necessary not to have the details of this sort of process worked out on paper by bureaucrats who actually have no power whatsoever to transform it into policy, but to find decision makers who, like Kushner, are close enough to actual sources of power so that when the discussions occur, the probability that the agreement is going to be transformed into action is extremely high. And that's a very difficult thing to negotiate if you're only dealing with mid to lower level bureaucrats.
No, I mean, Jared was there often, and he had 3 or 4 major portfolios, and this was one of them. And look, Jason, while Jason was in government, would trek over there as well. He'd sit and listen. Jason's a great listener. He's very, very non-threatening. He's I would say I'm much pushier and more aggressive than him. So, I'm sure people were happy to listen and host him, and he listens and he heard and he would come back with thoughts. And we were told by everybody, don't put out a plan, for peace between Israel and the Palestinians because it's not going to go anywhere. And after all these conversations, we came to the conclusion that if we can come up with a plan which at least Israel is willing to accept, and explain why this is reasonable. And if the Palestinians aren't going to go for it and they're going to kind of blow themselves up on the world stage, even that, I think, will go a long way to convincing some of these other countries that the time has passed the Palestinians by. It's time to move on. I mean, we don't give up on making peace with the Palestinians, but if Israel is willing to really go forward with a serious plan, and the Palestinians just want to rip it up, that gives everybody a certain amount of cover to start doing what's best for their own people.
Well, yeah. Well, you guys removed the power they had in some sense. If the State Department had assumed that peace was only possible through the Palestinians, then that put a tremendous amount of authority and power in their hands. And so by walking around them in multiple directions, you eliminated that ultimatum power in some sense that the Palestinians had always wielded.
The first thing we did, I think your viewers might be interested in knowing, the first thing we did was back also in May of 2017, there were a number of people that were speaking to the president, and they were saying that the Palestinians were ready to make peace. It's Netanyahu who's the difficult one in this relationship. Go to Israel, beat up on Bibi, and make him more reasonable, and the Palestinians will come to the table, and you'll win a Nobel Prize. And a lot of people were telling him that, including people inside government. And so when the president comes to Israel, I did something which I got a lot of heat for afterwards, but I went and I said to Netanyahu, look, just so you know, there are people, the president's being told that you're the problem, that you're the troublemaker, you're the guy that won't make a deal. And he said, well, that's not true. And I said, well, look, if you want to convince the president, what I would suggest you do is let's make a 2-minute video of some of the worst things that Mahmoud Abbas has said. I mean, he's supposed to be the peacemaker. Let's put together a film, nothing out of context, only the actual statements he's made. about how, the blood of every terrorist is holy, and that we'll never stop helping our holy terrorists, and we won't give up 1 inch of Israel, and we're going to take all of Jerusalem. And, let the president see it. And he said to me, David, I've met with, countless world leaders. I've never made a video for them. I said, well, just make it. Maybe we won't use it. Maybe we will. We got into a room, and the video was there. I was there with, Tillerson and McMaster and Jared, and I said to the president, did you see the film? And he said, what film? And I said, let's play the film. And he looked at the film and he was shocked. And he said, this is the guy? Is this the same guy that I met with in Washington? This is the guy that everybody's telling me is ready to make peace? And then the next day, he goes to Bethlehem to meet with Abbas. And for starters, Abbas doesn't let me attend. He banishes me from the meeting. Which,
I bet.
Which got the president very angry. And then the president just really let him have it.
But also signifies an intent, doesn't it? That the fact that he didn't let you come. That's a very interesting and I would say counter-strategic move on his part.
It was a mistake.
It certainly indicates the sort of person that he is. Yeah.
It was a mistake. And it got the president angry. And the president said to him, look, you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes. There's too many people watching you right now. You told me you wanted to make peace. I see this video, says exactly the opposite. I want to know who you are, okay? Don't do this to me. It's a big mistake. Don't play both sides. I'm not stupid. I can, I form judgments very quickly. Who are you? And that also really changed the dynamics of the relationship.
I want to move in 2 directions, one after the other here. Let's talk a little bit more about the details of the accord. So what is it exactly that this agreement puts forward in principle or binds the signatory states to? UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco. We can talk about the commonalities across the states and the differences, but can you give us all a description of the fundamental nature of the Abraham Accords?
Sure. So the Abraham Accords are structured in 2 parts. There's the Abraham Accords Declaration, which is the same for every country, in which there is a recognition that the parties will end their state of conflict, end their state of hostilities. They will recognize each other's sovereignty. They will normalize relationships in all different ways, whether it's cultural, economic, political. They'll engage in strategic cooperation on matters of common interest for their respective national securities. They'll open up embassies, reciprocal embassies in their countries, and they'll exchange ambassadors. So it's a full normalization of peaceful